All right, thank you, Missy. Steve, let's go. The Rudolph Wurlitzer Company was founded in 1853 in Cincinnati and relocated to North Tonawanda, New York in 1880. Initially, they imported band and string instruments from Germany for resale, then began manufacturing pianos, including the first coin-operated pianos in 1896. The Ellen Theater opened on December 1st, 1919, and in 1925 installed the mighty Wurlitzer Theater organ, opus number 979, a two-manual, seven-rank instrument at a cost of $16,000, equivalent to $287,000 today. The opening night concert featured organist Adolph Evans, Jr., and an early version of the Bozeman Symphony playing Rossini's William Tell Overture. Evans also played the popular hit Follow the Swallow as the audience sang along, reading lyrics projected on the movie screen. Ed Pegram, known as Peg, was born in Pueblo, Colorado in 1906 and moved to Butte at the age of 8. As a high school student in Dillon, he worked as a projectionist in a small theater which had a two-manual, four-rank Wurlitzer, which he began playing during off hours. The year 1929 found Peg a student at Montana State College, a musician in a campus dance band, and playing the Ellen Theater organ for the first time. 1929 also saw the beginning of the end of theater organs nationwide with the rising popularity of talkies, motion pictures with sound. The last high-pressure organ was made in 1932, and many were either literally sold for $1 to remove from a theater or thrown out. Although the Ellen Theater organ was played very little in the 1930s, by the mid-1940s, Peg gave more concerts, including a long-running show called the Midnight Organ Hour, which played for packed houses of mostly college students twice a month. Other performances included Elks Club shows and benefit concerts for the USO and Shrine Hospital. In 1957, water backed up in a roof drain and poured into the organ lofts. The organ was so badly damaged it was completely out of commission for several years, with Peg and Ron Lewis starting repairs in 1959, which were completed in 1962. The LP On the Wings of Love was released in 1969. Bombard recording reviews of the album stated, "Screwy album title, unknown organist, small organ in an out-of-the-way theater. Could anything interesting evolve from that combination?" It most certainly can and does. Quote, "Ed Pegram is not a brilliant performer, but he has that spark of musicianship which makes his playing irresistible. A combination of good organ, talented organist, and good recording make this an attractive package, even though we still don't understand the meaning of the title." Ed Pegram died at the Gallatin County Rest Home in 1984. Wesley Myers was born in Bozeman in 1948 and frequently attended shows at the Ellen, in addition to performing on the stage as Captain Zoom Zoom in vaudeville shows. In 1969, he began to learn to play the Ellen organ late at night after the last show ended. Wes was a janitor at the Ellen starting in 1989 and assumed the position of historian and curator. The old theater organ was a labor of love to keep it in playable condition. The last time the organ was played was by Wes in April of 2008 for John Luden, just the two of them here for a half an hour before renovations began and the organ was disassembled. Wes died in 2018. From 1910 to 1942, Wurlitzer manufactured 2,243 theater organs, more than all other manufacturers combined. By 2015, only 272 of all makes remained in the US and under 1,000 worldwide. Today, only 12 worldwide remain in the same building in which they were installed. Restorations of these instruments can cost upward of $500,000. Just as a room filled with computers with vacuum hoses were replaced by transistors in 1953 and the microchip in 1958, modern digital sampling, software, and MIDI keyboards with little or no maintenance expenses have taken the place of these very grand instruments. But what about the old components? There was a potential buyer who traveled to Bozeman for 3 days to look at the organ, but decided against purchasing it because of the condition of the components and the significant costs it would be to ship and restore everything into a playable condition. Some percussion framework, air ducts, and bellows remain today in the soliloquy areas above the podium here. In the fall of 2021, the Ellen emailed a newsletter about a chance to own a piece of history: old theater seats, marquee letters, pipes, and components from the organ in order to financially survive the pandemic. The morning of the sale, we were in Missoula for a long-planned weekend, and John Luden called, "Jeff, it's John. We have this thing going on down here this morning. You should come check it out." I joked that it was probably a sign of some kind that I was gone and not bringing more stuff home. John said, "Well, there's one piece I'd like for you to have. I'll set it aside, and anything else that does not sell, you're more than welcome to." Later that day, I found out that none of the percussion instruments had sold. 2 days later, and 2 van loads of organ components were packed up and moved home. I suggested the bass drum, which was in mint condition, should be on display somewhere as a reminder of the organ that had played here for so many years. And you can see it tonight in the balcony, back of the balcony, the ballroom at the top of the stairs. It's on display there. The non-keyboard instruments, such as cymbals, triangle, snare drum, tambourine, and chime pipes, have been cleaned, repaired, and restored into a playable condition. The layout of organ mallet instrument bars is in a single row with the naturals and accidentals side by side instead of the usual double row black and white keyboard like on a piano. The glockenspiel was the first instrument of the keyboard family that I completed reconfiguring in early 2023. I was able to use some wood, screws, and felts from the original organ. It returned home to the Ellen for use in Opera Montana's production that February and has been back for several opera and theater work shows since, along with most of the non-keyboard instruments. I will be finishing up the remaining mallet instruments this winter. Instead of ending up in a landfill like so many old organ components around the world, I plan for these to come back home to the Ellen, either with me or other players for gigs, and eventually passed on to a future percussionist to keep their musical sounds alive in this space 100 years after their birth and well into the future.